morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Whoa, that live zoomed in right then and there. Wow, that's a different perspective. I've never seen that happen. It almost seems like it's gone straight into me. Maybe I need to sit further back now. And it looks a little bit blurry. That's weird. Uh, good morning and happy new week. I can't sit that far away. I need to be closer to my desk. Happy new week. Hope you had a great weekend. We certainly did. It's nice and beautiful and sunny here today for the next few days in Melbourne after an Antarctic kind of chilly weather. Hey, Leslie and Annette. Great to see you guys. And hope I'm coming through clear at your end, because it seemed like when it went live, it zoomed right in, and now at my end, I look a little bit blurry to myself, but not to worry. Today, I'm just switching a couple of things off so I don't get the bings and bongs happening on the internet, and quieting down the other computer as well. But the exciting news here in Melbourne is that prep schools have gone back to school. So all of our three kiddies, after nearly 4 months locked up at home, have put their uniforms on and they're out of the house to do 2 weeks of school, because in 12 sleeps we get to fly out and go to Brisbane, do the 2 weeks quarantine, so we can spend 3 months up there setting up our new house and our second home, if you like, and having a bit more freedom. So yes, I can't see you, Leslie, but yeah, you're safe on the other side of the computer, right? So what I want to talk about today was the power of your story. And why is it so important in business? Because I help a lot of people obviously write their first books, and some of them are just simply their story or their memoir. And then others, of course, have a story and a business behind it. And those that just have a story end up at some point wanting to have a business behind it, or realizing actually that my story has a lot within it and I can actually create it into a business. So I wanted you to cover off some points in terms of how you need to start thinking about your story, and why it is important to share it every single time, because really your story is almost like formulates part of your 60-second pitch, or when you introduce yourself, or you should be able to say it in 1 minute, 10 minutes, an hour, a whole day, to take people through it, right? And there's many different lessons when we tell our story within it. So people just don't realize and see this. Actually, one of my authors posted in our secret group this morning, because last night I asked, what are some questions you guys want me to answer on to this morning's weekly Q&A. So not the LiveWithNat that we're on right now, but after this I go into my secret group and I do an author related one. And one author said, well, I'd like to know more about how to market and promote a personal life story memoir book. And because we seem to be talking a lot about business related books and all that kind of stuff, but actually what I would answer and go back to say is, even a personal story, a memoir style of book, will have an aspect of a business behind it, because if it's a book, you've got a business because you're selling a product, right? And how do you engage people in that story, so that they want to hear the rest of it, or you don't want to have an experience through reading your book, right? So everything starts with the story. Even if you haven't had a business, or you have one and you haven't been sharing why you're so passionate that you do what you do, because people don't get into business because just it's a nice thing to make money and pay the bills. They generally get into business because there's some huge passion behind it, because the amount of effort and energy you got to exert to get something off the ground, it's not just for the money. It has to be for a bigger purpose of how you serve, and you're going to impact your community, and hopefully as time goes on, internationally, have that global impact. So through sharing our stories, our 0 to hero, and generally within every person's life, of what they've overcome and where they've come to, and how they want to now help people, there is the 0 to hero story. There is the moments where they were rock bottom, they made certain decisions, or something happened, shit hit the fan, made certain decisions and got to a point where where they are today through taking a certain set of steps. Maybe they didn't know they were taking those steps, but they certainly were, because in hindsight, if they look back, they could see and probably document everything that they did and they overcame. So they're the important aspects of our story we actually need to realize, that there's so much within every day, within everything. Like every day, there's a story to it, today is the first day back at school, right? And so these 3 or 4 months that the children have been at home has been a zero to hero journey, right? Because when the second wave came and they told us they're not going to be going back to school this the whole term, and that they're likely to be at home 4 months, we had to go through a certain set of steps of what we have done over these 4 months to make the life, the business, the entertainment, the mindset stuff that we had to work through by being locked up, and continuing to do so. But right now, today is the triumph where they've left and gone to school, and they're all super excited and jumping up and down, and it's a sunny day and all that kind of stuff. So there's a zero to hero story just in that little aspect of things, and I'm sure there's going to be so many of them through what people have experienced during COVID and what they have overcome. It is through our greatest adversities that the best stories and lessons and systems eventuate. And the authors that I help, usually there's some traumatic event in their life that happened where they have come through at the other end. They really want to have that healing journey through sharing that particular story. And in that story lies the steps that they took to get to be the hero they are today. Okay, so that is where the gold lies. That is where other people who've just hit the same shit hit the fan moment will benefit from what you can tell them now from hindsight. If I hadn't helped like the 500 people now overcome their fear and write their first books, I wouldn't have the wisdom. Like I didn't have the wisdom I have now when I had only helped 100 people or 2 people or whatever it is, right? So people will invest in us to get a quick solution or a resolution, or to minimize the time they stay in pain. Okay, people will invest to be happy again, or to be well, or to be healthier, or to move their business forward faster from they'll invest in others who maybe have traveled that journey and did all the mistakes, so they don't have to make them themselves. That is the whole purpose of why we do what we do, to help people. And this is how evolution occurs as well. This is why we keep progressing and getting further forward in our lives and businesses faster, because we're learning from those who have stuffed it up before and spent 10 years working something out, so we can do it in a few months or a year. So that is how you need to think about your story. My story, and Annette, I know you're on the call, you have had this amazing story that you're about to publish as your first book, of having lost quite a few. I saw the list of the miscarriages and failed pregnancies and all that stuff you've been through. I mean, that's quite a huge span of time of what's been happening to you, and happens to so many women all over the world all of the time. And they either suffer in silence or try to work it all out themselves. Yet your book will be a tool that they can reflect and go, I'm not alone in this. Actually, someone's been through this before, and not only once, multiple times. And how did she deal with it? What is it that I can take from her? What are the gold nuggets and the wisdom that I can take that will reduce and make my pain not last as long? Really, really, really important to see the wisdom and the defining moments, and to turn. So the best thing, one of the best skills you can develop is your skill of communicating with others, being able to be understood by others. And so many people keep the information or the story or the wisdom in their heads, and they live and they go, they know what they've done, but no one benefits from it because they don't end up sharing it. The best thing you can do, and this is why writing a book helps you externalize what's in there, what's in your heart, what's in your stomach, what's in your head, all and you put it out there, and you make sense out of the unspoken. You turn it into spoken, just like the way I'm doing it right now. I kind of reflected upon, well, how has my story played a big part in my business, and how can I communicate this as clearly as possible so others really get it? Yeah. So that's what your job in life is, because if you can become a master communicator and externalize and not keep everything in and think and think and think and think, then you're going to add value. By externalizing, we add value to people. And those people who are writing their personal stories and memoirs, your biggest tip I can give you to market your book is to keep telling your story. Keep sharing with others and see how you can help them. And one day you'll realize that behind your story lies a way of assisting and helping others in whatever shape or format, what that will be. You just need to keep developing and writing and creating content for this particular group of people who have this particular pain, right? Okay, so really, I really want you to embrace it and spend a lot of time refining and practicing how you say your story. Your story could be your whole life journey. Like I generally, in my half-day workshops, share right from where I was born to where I am today. It takes me about 45 minutes to go through that. In that story, there are 7 defining moments, 7 obstacles I had to overcome. Now, why have I chosen 7? No, there's no particular reason why there were 7, but rather than people feeling like they're listening to a story, I stop and I go, hit this obstacle. And this is how I overcame it. But every obstacle was chosen to make a point against what I'm trying to help them overcome in themselves, to want to write their first book, to get out of their own way and write their first book. And I'm also unfolding the journey of what it is going to happen and what obstacles are still going to occur as you do say yes to yourself and overcome your mindset. Then you got to work on your credibility. Then you got to move from one to one to one to many. You got to make sure you're positioned and you have a specific message. You got to figure out how to get people to get results, and ultimately, your sales pipeline, all that. So I go through all of these 7 obstacles throughout as the growth occurred, how and what I needed to think. But it's to serve. It is not to tell, to get to know me. Yeah. So Leslie, good morning, Shauna. So Leslie, really strongly recommend that you guys maybe re-listen to the first 45 minutes of my half-day workshop where I tell my story. And actually, when I get off this call, I'll post the link to the first half of that seminar, or where the story is told, so that you can kind of get it. It's there. The story is told to serve. It's not told get to know me. Okay. And that's why I always say pull out the defining moments, the aha realizations, because those aha moments serve a big purpose, and they're a tool for other people to then grab onto and go, this is what it means for me. Yeah, this is what it really means for me. All right, let me go through some of the points I've made on my little sheet here, because I've kind of gone random, and that's what inspired me. I needed to sort of say what I needed to say. Sometimes I don't go what I've pre-prepared, but the main points are there. So some of the points I've made here on my thing is that every successful person has one and shares it beautifully. Start to notice when you listen to successful people talk, and just watch some YouTube stuff, where someone is going through a introducing themselves. There's always, I grew up here, or something happened, or like, you hear it within what they're saying. It always plays a big part. One of the biggest reasons people have told me they have engaged me as their coach to write their book or come into our program is because something I said in the story. Oh my God, I also migrated to another country when I was 14, which is the age when I came to Australia. I also had domestic violence within my family. They always say to me, it's like, when you said this, Nat, I felt like I could relate to you. Okay. So it wasn't so much about the how and what I was talking about in terms of writing books. They latched onto something within my story that said, you are like me. You get me and you've been there. So I want to work with you. So this is why it's also really, really key to share the story. Thank you, Annette. All right, so this is your unique flavor and your blueprint. So your story is your unique flavor and blueprint. No one can copy it. That's the thing. You know, we can talk about models and we can talk about you know, how to steps of doing something, and they can be similar to what other people have said, but no one can copy our story, and no one can tell it as well as we can with the emotions that we can tell it. Yeah, and that's where we really go to that emotional aspects of how people see us and make decisions and all that kind of stuff. So it is really, really, really important to embrace your own flavor. And you know what? Your story should be the easiest thing to share because you don't have to remember it. You know it off by heart. You don't. No one needs to tell you anything. But over time, as you repeat it, you'll know what are the kind of really important things to leave in and what should just kind of leave out. And as you have a little bit of enjoyment in and you get used to sharing it, guess what? You can bring some humor into it. Yeah, and make people laugh and just like kind of say the stuff. I mean, we have like, because I've said my story so many times over the last 10 years, some of the common things I always say that new people who've never heard it obviously laugh at. It's like an in-house joke, you know. Oh, you know, my mum left me behind in Macedonia, but not in a bad way, you know. And you know, we just talk with Stuart and my mum, and you know, we know the points, you know, we have a little bit of fun with it. And when something new comes into it, when I say it, I go, oh, that's something you have added in. It's really, it becomes really fun to share it, and really the challenge then becomes, how do I say it in a super short period of time when I need to, right? Yeah, so as I said, you don't have to remember it or memorize, just express it from your heart and what you feel you need to say. Just like when I started today, I wasn't looking at my notes, I kind of just went from the heart and what I thought I needed to say, and I think it's come out, you know, the way it should be. It engages and relates to others, so it builds rapport. So that's really important to remember. It's huge rapport. Stories build huge rapport with others because they will find themselves somewhere within your own story. Remember the aspect of the zero to hero journey. There is an actual model there out there, the hero's journey. That I don't know who talked about it or who developed it or who put it out there, but if you want to create your story with that kind of concept behind it, read what it's like. You know, there's different stages of what you go through and how it happens and how it unfolds. You take a person on that hero's journey with you. But I knew of it, but I've just gone through and gone with the defining moments for myself and gone with obstacles that I overcome and what kind of aha moments I've had over time. Which was the next point. What are the defining moments that made the biggest difference and how can they serve other people? You must have the ability to say it in 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 hour, you know, one day or longer. And make sure that you teach through your story, that you pull out words of wisdom and make them your key points. So teaching through your story is important because yes, people can, when we tell a story, people can pull out of it whatever they need to, right? But I'm a very practical person, and I like to actually bring them my kind of understanding of what that defining moment, because everyone will take something out of it and make sense out of it, out of their own lens, the way they're viewing the situation with their own set of beliefs and values and all that kind of stuff. But it is also really, valuable to add that further aspect of how you saw that. Okay, so that it's like kind of, and then you can see people start taking notes, and it's a really good sign because then it's something is clicking for them, therefore they're writing things down. And throughout your story, you know what I often will say at my offline or online seminars, write this down, this is really important, because maybe by doing that you know, the penny will drop for the person that is listening to me. Okay, so behind every story there is a system. Yeah, I said there is steps that you have taken to overcome or come to where you are today. You know, in whatever hero aspect that is, around your health, around your family, around your career, business, or whatever it is. Yeah. So there is, this little fringe is giving me the shits. It doesn't want to go left or right. Okay, so yeah, so make sure you, sometimes, you know, we talk about the word business, we talk about the word system, we talk about, you know, those kind of left brain words, right? But it is because people who want a solution are looking for, well, how do I do this? Show me how. I want to do it so I can overcome it, so I can be better. Yeah, in whatever shape or form. So it's not, system is not a ugly word or unkind, or like it's not a spiritual word, right? But it is something people look as tangible. And this is, if I can grab this is why a book is a tangible product that will help them resolve something in their life by reading it. Reverse engineer that system and make it your signature solution for others that may be struggling with the same problem. So this is where there's a little bit of a switch there. Name moving from a system becomes your signature solution. Okay, your signature solution, because your story is intertwined with the strategies that you've gone through, and now you are sharing that because you stop and you reflect. Okay, what happened? How did it happen? How did it unfold? What is the next thing? What is the next thing? And what is the next thing? Yeah. And then you document all that and you start unpacking it. And how could I tell someone, if someone had to walk in my shoes, how can I tell them to avoid this and actually do more of that, and don't look at that and do more of this, and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. All right. Evolve your story over time. And as I say, with repetition, you will be able to add some humor into it. It is great for engagement with people that you talk to. Even online, I thought, oh, how am I going to get them really engaged? It feels like I'm just talking to the computer. But because we all have now videos on Zoom and all that kind of stuff, I can see people's reactions. I can see their faces. I can see, when they're laughing at me and all that kind of stuff. And it makes it a lot more, it encourages you to keep going. Yeah. And humor is not something that people are good at. Just I want to touch on that. I used to think that Stuart was the funnier out of the two of us. Very witty. He would come up with stuff super quick, and basically, people would laugh at him and all that. And I'd go, oh, I'm just so, like, I just tell it like it is, and I don't know how to do it. But the more you relax into the way you externalize stuff, you find your own little quirkiness and flavor around what it is that makes you unique. And you start to say, and you notice at some points people laugh at you, and you go, oh, okay, maybe I'll do that again next time. And so you try it on, and you've tried a few different things, and you figure out certain little personality quirks that make others laugh, and you play on those, right? And it's repetition. So it's not actually humor. Humor is not something that is people are born with. Yes, some people might be funnier than others, but it is something that's really practiced at, so much so that at the end of the day, it actually appears quite natural and not practiced. Yeah. And that's why, like, now I do think I'm funny when I talk to people, and because I'm totally comfortable in my own skin and with what I know and how I say it and how I teach it and all that kind of stuff. And it just comes through, and people go, oh, you're funny or entertaining or you're engaging to listen to and all that kind of stuff. And but it is with practice and repetition, not because I was born with it or anything like that. Yeah. um Always share your story first, in everything that you do: talks, seminars, podcasts, interviews. It comes along for the ride every single time, even if it is a 10-second version of it. Like, I've got here because of blah, because this is what I have overcome. It is one of the most powerful ways that we can meet people, and be really connected to them at a whole nother level. So my homework for you guys this week is to sit down and maybe write a short version of your story. Maybe that will go for up to 10 minutes, and typing that out might be like 6 or 7 pages. Pull out your aha moments, and then practice saying it either in front of a family member. And remember, if you practice it in front of family members, might not feel as like, the way it would in front of people who've never heard it before. But at least you start saying it. The most I see people where they really struggle to break through in their businesses and lives is they just keep everything inside. and they never say it and they don't talk. That's why I'm a big networker and a big person who always recommends for people to get out there and be around people. If not in COVID right now, so many networking opportunities online, still ability to be able to externalize and say what you do or what your story is through those opportunities. So yeah, like you guys know, we've in Melbourne nearly there was a 6 week period we weren't locked up, and over the last 6 months we have been, like, purely have not left the house. But every week I have been part of 2 or 3 events where I'm connecting and talking to people and continuing what's in my head, just keep making it out. And then you become creative as you sort of get so familiar with externalizing stuff. You allow other things that are outside of the script, let's say, to come in, and you just kind of naturally talk about them. That's why I just need a few dot points on a piece of paper and off I go, for half an hour, or longer if I need be. Yeah. So the key to becoming successful is to master the skill of communication, and not just written communication, but spoken communication, where you speak to people and you tell them your stuff. But the where it is easier to speak about stuff is when you've first written it. So when you've first written it, you kind of put a bit of structure around it and you get your head around which part comes first, second, third, whatever. And then it's so much easier. You could almost even not even practice it. You could almost like kind of go, okay, that's I've written it now, and off I go and I talk about it. Just like what I would do on a Sunday afternoon, evening. I write down my points of what I want to talk about on Monday. Now I've written it, I've got the structure in my head. Now I can go and talk about it. So talking off the top of our heads does not serve anyone. There has to be some small aspect of preparation. Obviously, there's greater preparation when you start at the beginning, and a lot of probably practice that you're going to end up doing on your own and maybe in the mirror. But as time goes on, less and less preparation. For me, it's like 10 dot points, bullet points, and I can expand on them and go left, right, center, all that sort of stuff. But that comes with experience. Yeah. With experience to, and comfort, where you feel, you feel comfortable and confident and all that kind of stuff. So really encourage you to do that, and see your story as a signature blueprint or a solution to those people who have the pain that you used to be in. Okay, so all of you authors, and I'm going to tag that author that asked that question in the secret group. But all of you that are writing those personal stories and memoirs, marketing for your books is key to you having the ability to share your story with clarity and to see the steps in the system and the signature solution you have behind in it. Okay, because don't be too surprised if someone comes up to you after they've heard you speak online or offline and says, look, I was really inspired by you. How can you help me overcome this myself? What else have you got? People will ask you if you become public, and people hear from you and see you and see your book and all that sort of stuff. They're either going to buy your book or they'll further ask, how else can you support me? So have you got your backup plan worked out in terms of, well, what if they do ask me? Could you either, look for people who help those kind of people? Maybe it might not be you that's going to coach, consult, or whatever, but could you create a joint venture with someone who's an expert, maybe a counselor or a therapist or whatever, where you can send them leads and clients and all that kind of stuff, and then get some kickbacks off that. There's you don't have to do the work. You might be able to do collaborations. So that's something you got to expand your thinking on, greater and bigger. All right, guys. So that's me for another Monday morning. I hope this was valuable and that you're going to work really, really and make this your key center point of where things start with anything that you do with others. Really, really, really important. And I can't encourage you enough to start from today, because if you haven't been doing it, then you're behind. You need to catch up. All right. So as always, have a wonderful week ahead and smash it out. Bye, guys.